if now open in session. The Honorable Judge Cole Poliak presiding. All persons having business before the court come to order. This is the case of the state of Minnesota versus Bud White. Would you all please rise? Are all persons connected with this case present and prepared?
Hopefully.
Yes.
Are all persons connected with this case present and prepared?
It's a duplicate. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Are the attorneys for the prosecution and your witnesses present? Are all the attorneys for the prosecution and your witness present? All the attorneys for the defense and your witnesses present? Let the record show all parties in this case are present and prepared.
Sorry, I was trying to verify for him.
Come on, you're up there, Cole.
Now, the jury stays standing.
Okay.
All right. Jury, raise your right hand. Do you swear to serve as a juror in this trial to the best of your ability?
I swear.
I swear.
Honestly.
I swear.
So help you God. Be seated.
I see.
Okay. Now that you have been sworn in, let me remind you of the very serious nature of your duties as a juror in this trial. It is important that you listen carefully and attentively throughout the trial, taking notes to assist you in your deliberation. You are to rely entirely on these notes and your own recollection of the evidence that you will hear and see. You must consider the credibility of each witness as they appear upon each piece of testimony that is given. You'll have to rely on your own experience, judgment, and common sense in the matters of these decisions. During the course of this trial, you will receive evidence from which a jury may properly find a defendant guilty of an offense. There are two types of evidence. One is direct evidence, such as the testimony of an eyewitness. The other is circumstantial evidence, proof of circumstances pointing to the commission of a crime. As a general rule, the law makes no distinction between direct and circumstantial evidence. It simply requires that before a defendant can be convicted, a jury must be satisfied of the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. To justify a conviction upon circumstantial evidence, all of the circumstances must be consistent with the theory that the accused is guilty and inconsistent with any rational theory except that of his guilt. After all of the witnesses have been heard, and you have heard the arguments posed by the various lawyers, I will clarify the law for you as it applies to this case. I will charge you with your responsibilities in making your decision. We are now about to hear opening statements from each team of lawyers as we begin this case. An opening statement should be helpful to you in understanding the case as the lawyers will present it from their own point of view. Listen carefully to these remarks, for they should preview the case as you will hear it during the trial. If there are no questions, we will proceed. Prosecution, would you please present your opening statement?
Mike.
I have to go out there.
No, you just need to use the mic.
Okay.
Use the microphone.
You guys ready? This is like a page long. Okay. We, the prosecution, stand before you today representing the people of this state in a criminal matter against the defendant, Mr. Bud White. We are here prepared to prove that the defendant is guilty of contributing to the delinquent actions of a young 16-year-old girl, Patty Collins, and that her death was the final incident of a direct result of a series of reckless, negligent, and intentional actions on the part of the accused. We believe that Patty Collins would be alive today if the defendant would have acted in a reasonable and prudent manner that is expected of any adult in our society today. In bringing these charges, we are prepared to prove the following. First, that the death of Patty Collins, a 16-year-old girl, took place during the early morning hours of December 24th, 2013, and that her death was due to respiratory failure while being exposed to extreme cold, and while heavily under the influence of illegal intoxicants. Second, that the defendant was host to a party in his home where illegal intoxicants, alcoholic beverages, and drugs, including marijuana, were consumed. These intoxicants were allowed, provided, and served in unusual amounts to all in attendance, including minors, and to Patty Collins in particular, by the defendant himself. Third, that various witnesses for this state will testify that the defendant was seen serving intoxicating beverages to Patty Collins. in addition to others, and did encourage her in these illegal actions in what we believe to be a gross, negligent, and reckless manner. Fourth, that the defendant was culpably, I don't know how to say that, negligent, okay, thank you, in that he failed to provide proper and reasonable supervision to the young guests in his home. We believe that he not only allowed, but recklessly encouraged the illegal use of intoxicating beverages and drugs while minors were present in his home. Fifth, that Patty Collins, a minor, became intoxicated while in the home of the defendant and continued her association with him and with other friends at an uptown cafe, remaining in an intoxicated condition up to the moment of her death. We contend that the defendant failed to reasonably supervise, safeguard, or control the actions of this intoxicated child while at the restaurant, and her tragic death occurred. As we present the facts of this case to you, it may first appear to be a large, complex puzzle with various pieces of information scattered among several of the witnesses, and without a real solution. But I assure you that when we have heard and seen all of the testimony and evidence, a picture will emerge from this puzzle. It will then become clear that the defendant did, feloniously and in a reckless manner, cause the death of this young child, Patty Collins. At the conclusion of the trial, we are confident that you will find the defendant guilty in the charges he is accused of. Thank you.
The defense may now present their opening statement.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we the defense wish to state right at the beginning of this trial that the prosecution has mistakenly charged the defendant of causing the death of Patty Collins. The defendant did not cause her death. Tragic as it was, her death was an unfortunate accident that no one could have reasonably predicted or could have controlled. It grew out of a set of circumstances that were beyond understanding or control of any one person, except the victim herself. We wish to remind the jury at the beginning of this trial that our client is innocent of these charges and must remain innocent unless and until he is proven guilty to a specific charge beyond a reasonable doubt. It is our job to prove his innocence to these charges. He already has that position and must remain innocent until proven otherwise. We are prepared to show that the defendant has no criminal motive in allowing a group of his young friends to have a party at his house. He was not informed as to the names of the guests, nor their ages, nor was he aware of any illegal actions that may have taken place. He gave no consent, nor did he purchase illegal items for consumption at his residence for anyone, adults or minors. We contend that he behaved properly and reasonably, and although he may have been deceived in regard to the age of certain members, he had every reason to believe that the gathering at his residence was a successful affair without incident. He had no awareness of the tragic accident that occurred to one of the younger members before the evening was over. Before this trial is over, and after all of the facts in this case are known, we feel that you will be convinced that the defendant is innocent of the charges against him. You will then understand that the death of this young girl was truly an unfortunate and tragic accident of her own making. You will be convinced, as I am, that the defendant is innocent of these charges. Thank you.
Prosecution, you may now proceed to examine your witnesses.
Grab the mic, please.
Prosecution calls Officer Starsky to stand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this case, under the penalty or perjury, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name and occupation and be seated on the witness chair.
Officer Starsky, police officer.
Officer Starsky, can you tell us about what time you arrived at the scene of Patty Collins' death?
9:30 a.m.
Can you describe the scene you came upon that morning?
There was a lot of worn clothes and footprints leading to the girl's body.
Can I have a picture of the railroad, please? It is claimed that Patty attempted to climb up the bank, right where that dot is. Wait, no, take it back.
Right here.
Not where the dot is, yeah. Actually, where the dot is. Is it true that, had the deceased not been under the influence, she could have climbed out of the railroad cut and survived?
I believe she could have.
The prosecution rests.
Well, not rests for this.
Okay.
Wait, no.
No.
Wait.
But don't they have to cross-examine?
Yes.
Defense, you may now cross-examine the prosecution.
Okay. So on the morning of the 24th, you received a call from someone who had found the body, and when you arrived at the scene, what did you find?
I found the girl's body and clothing scattered nearby.
And were there many footprints?
Yes.
Where did the footprints lead?
Up and down the bank and across the tracks.
What was the girl specifically wearing?
A light jacket. Well, when she was dead, or when she was,
Yes, after she was dead.
just a t-shirt and pants.
And would you say those clothes were suitable for a cold winter's night?
No.
Were there any other footprints nearby?
Besides the girl's, no.
So the footprints showed that the girl tried to climb out of the embankment multiple times, correct?
Correct.
Afterwards, a pathologist interpreted and explained the girl's behavior. What did she say?
That she was under the influence and she had tried to climb out multiple times with struggle.
So the girl clearly was intoxicated, and due to this, she was incapable of climbing out of the embankment.
Yes.
Do you think that most people not impaired by liquor would have been able to climb out of the railroad cut and up onto the other side?
I do believe so.
If she had not been intoxicated, would she have been likely of finding a path and getting home safely?
Yes.
Do you think that the actions and decisions she made while intoxicated, such as taking off her jacket and failing to climb out of the railroad embankment, caused her death?
Yes.
No further questions.
Defense, you may now call your witnesses to the
No.
stand.
Prosecution calls its next witnesses.
Prosecution, you may now call your next witness to the stand.
Ginny Dare.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, in this case under penalty or perjury, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name and occupation and be seated on the witness chair.
I'm Ginny Dare, and I'm 16 years old.
Jen, can you tell me were you at the party with Patty Collins that took place at Bud White's house on December 23rd, 2013?
Yes.
And did you pick Patty up that evening?
Yes.
About how many people were at the party?
I'm not sure how many people were at the party, but there were quite a few people.
Were there minors there?
Yes.
Did you witness Patty consuming alcoholic beverages?
Yes.
And did you see Bud White give Patty anything?
Yes, he gave her some blackberry brandy.
And do you believe that Bud White contributed to Patty's intoxication and the ultimate reason for her death?
Yes.
Thank you.
Defense, you may now cross-examine the witness.
So you went with Patty Collins to the party,
Yeah.
and you were the one that drove her there?
Mm-hmm.
Where did her parents think she was going when you picked her up?
They thought she was going to my house for a sleepover.
But you weren't, correct? So Patty Collins deceived her parents and went to a party where she knew there would be intoxicating beverages served.
Yes.
While you were at the party, did you see Patty drink?
Yes.
How much?
I wasn't keeping track of her drinking, but I know she had a bottle of blackberry brandy and a couple more drinks.
Do you know what else she drank?
Beer.
And did you have anything to drink?
Yes.
It sounds like Patty drank a lot at the party. And did Patty also have a few joints of marijuana?
Yes.
After the party, you, Patty, and some friends went to the country cafe. What time did you go there?
We left the party at 11:30 and drove to the cafe.
Did Patty want to stay at the cafe?
No, she wanted to go and visit her boyfriend.
And why didn't you go with her?
I don't particularly fancy her boyfriend.
Okay. And when did Patty disappear?
A little after we arrived, she went to the ladies' room and I never saw her afterwards.
And you didn't think to go looking for her when she didn't come back from the ladies' room, despite knowing how intoxicated she was? Do you feel sorry about the incident?
I'm very sorry for the incident.
Do you feel guilty about your behavior contributing to the excesses of the evening?
Yes.
Do you feel guilty about letting your friend walk to her death?
Yes.
Do you blame Bud White for your behavior?
No.
Do you blame Bud White for the death of Patty Collins?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Prosecution may now proceed to call their next witness to the stand.
Mrs. Lawford, does
And as the witness, stay standing until you're sworn in, and then move the mic right in front of you.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this case, under penalty of perjury, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name and occupation, and be seated on the witness chair.
I'm Mrs. Lawford. I'm the teacher of the law class at the high school.
Mrs. Lawford, do you believe that Patty's friend Ginny pressured her into going to the party in the defendant's home?
Yes.
What did you say to Patty during your conversation at the cafe?
Well, I gave her the address to her father's home.
Did you believe that Patty knew that illegal intoxicants would be at the party hosted by the defendant?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Prosecution, you may now cross-examine the witness.
Yes.
I thought you were finished. Oh, you're done. Sorry, defense.
So you are Patty Collins' teacher.
Yes.
Do you also teach Ginny Dare and Tom Walker, who were present at the party?
Yes, I do.
And what do you teach?
I teach the law civics class at the high school.
Do you consider yourself to be a good role model for the students?
Yes.
And what did you do in class on the afternoon of December 22nd?
I let them have a little party before the winter break.
And did you know there would be a party on Friday, December 23rd?
I had heard Patty and Ginny as well as Tommy talking about it. I got the distinct impression there'd be lots of alcohol. But, yeah.
Do you know the age of your students?
I know that Patty's 16, and that's the average age of my students, 16 to 17.
And so you believe that there would be illegal activity occurring at this party? There would be alcohol and minors?
Yes.
Did you tell anyone about your suspicions?
No, but I did warn the students that they should play it cool.
Okay. And later that night, did you see Patty later that night on December 23rd?
Yes, I was at a cafe with my wife.
Did you notice anything different about her or the people around her?
She was acting intoxicated.
And did you have a conversation with her?
Yes.
Did you see any more signs of the intoxication when you talked to her?
With the speech, it was slurred, and the behavior they were displaying was quite rowdy.
And again, did you think about telling anyone about there being intoxicated minors?
Yeah, it didn't cross my mind. My mind was set on having a nice anniversary dinner with my wife and
Okay.
her sister and brother.
And was the interaction at the cafe the last time you saw Patty Collins?
Yes.
And did you think about stopping her ever or trying to help her? Not telling anyone, but did you ever try and stop her and help her get safe?
I gave her her father's address.
And so you stated earlier that you teach law education.
Yes.
So you knew that about the laws about, or you knew that you should have told someone when because you knew about illegal activity occurring. And when you got your job, did you sign a contract agreeing to tell people when you hear the students talking about something that could cause some harm?
No, I did not.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Prosecution may now proceed to call the next witness to the stand.
The prosecution.
Are you sliding it up?
The prosecution calls Davy Morgan to the stand.
Day.
What?
Day Morgan.
Day? Sorry.
In standing. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this case, under penalty of perjury, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name and occupation and be seated in the witness chair.
I'm Dave Morgan, and I'm the owner of the Country Cafe.
Hold on. Can you move the mic right in front of you and make sure you're speaking up? Thanks.
About what time did the deceased arrive at your restaurant? Her and her group of friends arrived a little after 11:30.
And what sort of state do you recall her to be in at the point of her arrival?
Well, they all seemed a little intoxicated.
Is it true you believe she became intoxicated before she arrived there?
Yes.
Miss Morgan, did you see the deceased leave out the front door unaccompanied into the cold night?
Yes.
No further questions.
Defense may now cross-examine the witness.
So, you are the owner of the Country Cafe, and do young people often gather at your cafe?
Yeah, it's a place they usually come to.
On the night of December 3rd, where were you?
I was 23rd.
Or 23rd, I'm sorry.
I was at the cafe helping out.
Do you remember seeing Bud White on that evening?
Yes.
And on one occasion, a waitress asked you to stop the group, or to get the group to quiet down and get them to stop throwing food.
Yes.
And on this occasion, when you came over to talk to the group, what did Bud White say and then do?
He apologized and helped me quiet them down.
Did the group cause any more trouble after you and Bud White had quieted them down?
No.
Did any of the young people seem intoxicated?
Yes.
Who precisely?
I couldn't see precisely because I had a lot of other customers, but quite a few were.
Do you recall seeing Patty Collins?
I do.
You say several young people were served beer while in your cafe on that occasion. Could Patty Collins have been one of them?
She could have.
Do you recall what Patty Collins did that night specifically on her way to the restroom?
She stopped at the counter like she was going to pay, but she didn't.
Did you see Patty Collins leave your restaurant?
I did.
And despite knowing she was intoxicated, you did not think to try and prevent her from leaving, or at least follow her to try and get her to pay?
Other customers had my attention at the time.
Is it true that you watched and let Patty Collins walk out into the freezing winter's night knowing that she was an intoxicated minor?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Prosecution may now call the next witness to the stand.
Prosecution calls Tamina Walker to the stand.
Remain standing. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this case, under penalty of perjury, so help you God?
Yeah.
State your name and occupation and be seated on the witness chair.
Tommy the Walker. I'm a student.
How old are you, Tamita?
17.
And were you at the party on December 23rd, 2013 at Bud White's house?
Yes.
Did you illegally drink intoxicating beverages on the presence of and at the home of the defendant?
Yes.
And did Bud offer drinks to other teenagers who were in the home, including Patty Collins, a minor, who received a bottle of blackberry brandy from him and drank intensively in his presence?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
What kind of objection?
Hearsay?
Overruled.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Well, did you get an answer?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Defense may now proceed to cross-examine the witness.
Tamina, how old are you again?
17.
Did you tell your friends about the party at Mr. White's house?
Yes.
Who did you tell specifically?
Jenny Dare, Patty Collins, and a couple others.
Other minors?
Yes.
How did you find out about this party?
Well, me, Bud, and Jim Daniels were talking about it.
How did you know about the people supplying alcohol?
They were my friends.
How would you describe Bud?
He seemed like a nice guy.
You'd say he was a generally good person?
Objection, relevant.
Overruled.
Yes, the best drug.
Would you say he was a generally good person?
He seemed like one.
Who originally proposed the idea for the party? Who specifically?
I believe it was me.
Why did you propose this idea as a 17-year-old minor?
Because parties are fun.
Did you help mix any drinks at the party?
Yeah.
Did you know that it's illegal to be mixing drinks as a 17-year-old?
Yes.
Did you see Ms. Collins drink alcohol or take drugs?
Yes, I did.
Have you ever been to jail, Tamina?
Objection, relevant.
Sustained!
I like that.
No further questions.
Prosecution may now call their next witness.
Prosecution calls up Sergeant Hutch to stand, please.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this case, under penalty of perjury, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name and occupation and be seated in the witness chair.
Officer Hutch. Chief of Police.
Officer Hutch, can you please describe the scene and where the victim was found dead?
Well, the victim started at the cafe and then proceeded to walk down into the railroad way. And then she weaved across the railroad and she proceeded to take off some clothing items and walk across the other side of the railroad way and was down.
Do you believe that if Patty had not been under the influence that she would have known better than to take off her clothes?
Yes, that's what he said.
What substances were found present in the defendant's home during the search?
Multiple liquor bottles, beer cans, narcotic pipes, and small bits of marijuana.
Is it true that the defendant gave minors the consent to consume these substances?
Yes, there are many sworn admissions given by participating members of the party.
Thank you. No further questions.
Defense may now cross-examine the witness.
From your investigation, did Ms. Collins attempt to get out of the railroad bank?
Yes, she did.
So could you say it was her own fault for her death then, because she couldn't get out by herself?
Yes, but no.
Did you ever suspect foul play from anyone?
Yes.
Really? Because in your sworn testimony. What was the cause of Patty's death?
She respiratory failure.
In the sworn testimony, it says freezing to death.
Well, she froze, but then because she was like freezing her respiratory.
So freezing to death. So nothing from other people. It was solely personal. She froze to death. Did the victim drink heavily?
Yes.
So it was her own decision?
Drink heavily, yes.
What was the defendant wearing at the scene?
A shirt and pants.
So she didn't make a good decision in the first place, wearing only light clothing in freezing temperatures.
Well, she had a jacket on.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Oh! Prosecution may now call their next witness to the stand.
Dr. Perry, medic.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this case, under penalty of perjury, so help you God? State your name and occupation and be seated on the witness chair.
Dr. Terry Medic. I'm a coroner.
Can you please explain your occupation, what you do?
I'm a coroner with 8 years of experience. I'm also a pathologist, which I specialize in determining the cause of death and effects of disease on wounds and injuries.
And how long have you been doing this for?
About 8 years.
And what was the cause of Patty Collins' death?
I believe the cause of Patty Collins' death under
Objection, Your Honor. Opinion.
Overruled.
She froze to death, which caused respiratory failure, which was the ultimate cause of death.
Was it because of drinking also?
If she would not have drunk, she would not have laid down on the railroad track, and therefore she would not have died.
Why did Patty take off her clothes in the first place?
Patty took off her clothes because the human body, when it is trying to counteract the freezing effects, it gets really, really warm, and therefore she, in her intoxicated state, decided that she would take off her clothing.
And would Patty have still died if she was not consuming any alcohol or drugs that evening?
I do not believe she would have, because she would not have taken off her clothes, and therefore which caused her death.
No further questions, Doctor.
Defense may now proceed to cross-examine the witness.
So, as you said, you examined Patty Collins for her when she died. What were Patty's blood alcohol levels?
Her blood alcohol level was 0.14.
And about how many drinks would that have been?
That would have been about 8 to 10 alcoholic drinks.
And what is the legal state of intoxication?
That'd be 0.10.
Were there any marks on Patty that could have revealed anything that someone had pushed her or caused her to do something?
No, there were no violence marks on her body.
So it was solely her fault?
Correct.
No further questions from me.
Prosecution may now call the next witness to the stand.
The prosecution calls Joan Collins.
Hi.
Remain standing. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this case under penalty of perjury, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name and occupation and be seated on the witness chair.
Joan Collins, mother of the deceased.
Joan Collins, have you ever known your daughter to be involved with drugs or alcohol?
No.
Was your daughter a good student with good grades?
Yes.
About what time did the police arrive to inform you of the tragic death of your daughter?
They arrived at about 10:30 a.m. on Saturday.
Do you believe that the defendant, Mr. Bud White, personally contributed to the intoxication of your daughter, which led to her decease?
Objection,
Yes.
Your Honor. Speculation. Denied. Speculation.
Overruled, you mean?
Best job ever. No further questions.
Hold on. You know what? I would have her repeat that just because the jury didn't hear her as the objection was made.
Is it? Wait, oh, oops. Okay. Do you believe that the defendant, Mr. Bud White, personally contributed to the intoxication of your daughter, which led to her decease?
Yes.
No further questions. Ms. Collins, how old is your daughter?
16.
Were you aware of Patty's intention to even attend the party?
No.
Where did you think she was?
I thought she was going to Ginny Dare's house for a sleepover.
So you had no clue that your 16-year-old daughter was at a party at a 25-year-old man's house?
No.
No clue.
No.
How many hours a day would you say you were directly in the same room as your daughter?
Objection, relevance.
So denied. Overruled.
When she got home, so like, I don't know,
6 hours? Okay. Was she doing drugs or drinking alcohol then?
No.
So then for the other 18 hours in the day, how do you know she wasn't?
I trusted her to make the right choices.
But you don't know?
No.
No further questions.
Prosecution may now call the next witness to explain. Okay.
All right, we're going to take a short break. Everybody can stretch, move.
Wipe your nose.
Classy, I don't even have to do anything.
Oh my God, that was
Abby.
You guys are